both having problems. And now we have, yesterday, what's his name? What's his name yesterday?
The Central's a disaster.
God, I can't think of his name, but he had problems
I didn't
too.
even know there was.
But Cagney's
I
back.
guess they'll publicize it at some point, but.
I wish little, our little catcher would start hitting like he did last year when he came out.
That's pretty creative. Yeah, that's nice marketing going on there.
But,
Well,
You know what?
and
he's
girls,
in the last,
Here was contract.
anything big going on in your part of the world?
You know what I think? I think he's waiting out there. That's it. I think he's retired. Because he's played here all his life. And I think he would want to do that.
How about you?
But you know what, when I go
Trying to
to
keep
go
up
get
with
him,
the yard and
and
keep my other students
Hispanic, and I can't
taken
think
care
what
of.
his name is. It's a
Good.
cool sounding name. And he plays for either Baltimore or Boston in second base.
Yeah, well, kind of getting used to it.
They're straight dogs at that, but I guess so. Yeah, because there's talks about it.
plays for Baltimore.
Yeah, but they take a pretty penny to get him. He's an outstanding fielder and he's a good hitter.
Yeah.
I'll be up there.
Would it be? Let's see, he's up.
So, my.
How's it going? Hold on. I can see you. How's it going?
Just getting
Oh,
out things
cool.
started.
And he just got drafted out of college from Michigan State.
This year?
Not
Yeah,
this
so
year.
he's on the Oregon farm team.
Yeah, cool.
Spring training.
Isn't that exciting? Somebody you can follow.
All of them specifically tonight shows.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Like everyone, like James.
Yeah, but that's a
Good,
big
good,
deal.
good,
So
good.
let's look at Baltimore. Let me see if it's Baltimore. Might be Baltimore. Let me try Baltimore.
I was gonna go one
Second
there.
Baltimore.
Oh my gosh.
Orioles second baseman.
Oh, is there a play? I didn't know.
You know, it should-
You knew that yesterday.
Did you?
Second baseman.
Well, it's always good to talk baseball.
Hi, Lonnie.
Hey, Rhonda.
What do you think about
I'm doing good. How are you? Nice.
How's your mom?
She's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
Good collection.
yeah, I got quite.
You're Michael Jackson, that's not
But I told myself when I
Other than
bought
that, I
that
think she's
one.
doing pretty good.
Gonna be the
She's
last
getting
one.
on now.
Okay.
Yes, she was excited to go to that. Because I was like, I go for
My other gas.
She goes, well, it wasn't really bruising till this morning or right before Galen came to get her. And I was like, wow. But, oh well.
I just what, you didn't have to go
Oh,
to it,
good.
did you?
No, I
I was
didn't.
like, I just don't worry about that. But, I can. Yeah. Maybe they could, oh no, that's anything private, maybe they could do an evening candlelight prayer, so people could go.
Yeah, the kids were involved.
The, what was it called? The
National Day of Prayer.
Yeah, National Day of Prayer.
Yeah. I
You weren't there?
No. I wasn't.
Ron.
I always get to those. And I forgot all about it.
That's what happens when we get older.
Virtual, I wasn't aware of
If I don't put it on a Post-it note or my calendar.
Yeah, it's not on my,
Yeah.
it was not on my phone.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen only mode.
Yeah.
Did you find him?
Do me a favor.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Here I think it is. I think this is it, but I'm not sure. I think it's, where was it? I think it
What was that again?
Looking for Zach.
Oh, on there.
He's the only one.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware.
I just thought, it's Ryan.
Why did you get this?
Like, it's some strange name. Crap, look it up.
Okay.
Ryan Bellani. That's
Oh,
it, that's
okay.
it, yeah.
I'm gonna go look up some
But the it's
stats.
really good. Yeah, look at that and come back.
He is, in Wisconsin, his daughter.
Hi, how are you?
PhD from the University of Madison, Wisconsin-Madison. I think in
Nice.
chemical engineering, she's pretty smart.
Oh, nice.
A
I don't know if I did it in
Badgers.
the last meeting.
Yeah, I walked out of the office yesterday like it was nothing, and I was like, your daughter's getting her PhD, you should be doing flips.
That's
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
He's president, yeah.
Where is it? In DeSoto somewhere?
One of those is likely getting solved the next.
Later on, I found out it was,
Really?
because I asked.
Propulsion
my-
energy situation
Oh,
for
Think about it.
I don't get it. No, that's not him.
That'd be cool.
I'll put batteries in
Oh,
there.
yes.
Joe,
battery.
that's not him.
I thought I saw you.
I don't know
I
who
found
it
it
is.
switching a bit.
I cannot remember
Oh
what
my
they
gosh.
said.
Yeah, I'll be willing.
Okay, I'm trying to join a
What
session.
is he on?
What's up, Ron?
I'll have to ask Brandon.
Anything else?
When I saw this flag, I forgot my.
Hack the word hose and
Yeah.
It should be good. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure it's user error.
Yeah, what's going on?
Okay, I do that, like I always do.
Would you start?
Yeah, it's important to note.
Got some meat.
Violence, comments about violence.
Oh, that is there.
Sometimes I would just
Especially
keep it
with the iPad.
simple because you don't want people
It's
backlashing.
funky. I don't know why, but
I thought you were
you're
good.
good.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, no,
I
that's
think
okay.
it'd also be good to
I will
limit.
find out what you get that.
And I know you guys don't see, a lot of stuff gets automatically put through, right?
Yeah, I'm going next year to lately, my grandson's.
But 7 or 8 people posting the same exact thing and comments go off the rails.
Yeah, I know. I know,
Ron, I'm not gonna give you audio, I just turned on the video.
Post that, like,
Nothing wrong with
say
these.
that
I
on
mean,
my post, I
we
said.
got a bunch of
Well,
them.
and
Things
probably-
I said, if you see that, see somebody else
get into
that's posting something about a subject, don't post about the same subject.
my granddaughter,
Did you get it?
I just got out, completely, I just got out completely.
Okay.
No,
I'm online.
Yeah, and then I just went back and it popped up. But I want Brandon to stand beside you, because it worked for me. He stood by me.
I was right behind you this time. Technologies, I know the iPad, like someone would do the memory, like has to refresh, it's funny, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's it would be out from, yeah, no, also, I don't know, I feel like every day it's a technology. Just, Chris's first question drives me insane, Chris, I know, is like, did you plug it, did you unplug it, plug it back in? I'm like, yes, it did.
Because it happens enough, enough that I know that much, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm calling you because I've exhausted it.
Yes, right.
he went through it all, he was at the sheriff's office. He went through all the departments, wound up.
The,
I don't know, one of the first ones. When he was younger, and he went high and went out there and graduated the academy. And when he came back, and he stayed the longest in Mission. So that's where he's still at now,
But I guess I didn't ask you, did you find, was it valuable, did you
so.
have,
He had the shooting.
did you have fun? It looks like you
I was
guys
gonna
had a
ask
great
this
time.
too.
You drive, but that was pretty awesome having a light with us.
Well, her husband was an officer.
what's this thing?
We got like a flag, you know, put the light on there, and I was like, oh, we could do a job.
It was practice for me.
So we could.
Yeah.
So I put the same thing. That's true, all wheel. Good point. But it could go on the job site, it's still, we really encourage how we would do it.
I think we're in contact.
And I didn't call these,
I was pretty sure it'd be today's date, and I just wanted to.
That's good. I can do, yeah, we were the coolest people. Just so you can look at something from, this was Chris and I.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh my gosh, we had a blast.
I've got it, Joe.
All right.
It's Luis the Rice.
Took a little break, 2 years of days. The principal, well,
Then he's got a blink one.
Next year, I'll actually be.
It's Luis the Rice.
principals in the school district.
Yeah, and that's how they pronounce it, Greek fries.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not heard of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he's been in the second, so. Yeah, we'll take that. But are we on, so since when? 2023.
Started out.
2019.
I don't know what's getting you up.
45 to 50 hours.
But anyway, that's who it was, they were talking on the radio. Yeah, okay.
What's up, Ron? Hey, we wanted to push it back. One thing is, two, he wakes up and Tom
Yeah, so they're starting right now, so they're kind of working south of Park, the ball fields, because they're still working on that land transfer.
We switch off every night.
So they're
I'm gonna
working, south of that, south, right now they're doing tree clearing. But they're probably doing some grading, but yeah, they really
Are there pins over
haven't
there?
got into the deep construction.
I don't normally sit
So I don't know if we're gonna see a lot off of 103rd Street.
Mayor, I
I
talked
think they'll be
to
coming in off Astor.
Jill.
They're still gonna be.
Jill, your niece, right?
Yes.
Niece, I was trying to remember.
They started
I
working.
heard you then.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, that roundabout. Inside.
Okay. Don't mess up the pattern. Oh, yes, okay. You knew what I was going for, right?
Oh, you're welcome.
Zach, I do, I wasn't aware of that. So I want to talk to him. I was like, I don't see him on my information.
He paid for it to shop.
I got that information from your Rhonda and Joe, just so you know. I didn't
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Shreveport. It's coming back tomorrow.
I don't know.
No, Sienna is pregnant.
I don't know.
She was too busy to come. I think she had senior assistance.
Yeah, she got Garner.
She's too cheap.
That was Reagan.
She made it to the top five.
Reagan, yeah, Reagan fought back in one time and then she gave up.
Well,
Sienna was really close. I was getting a little
yeah,
worried.
let's add, because they,
We were tipping off our neighbors. Because we would see the cars come by and park in the local town and just park in their house and like,
you know what? Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, I've heard that.
When is Reagan coming home?
she has an in-person exam, a final for an online course next Thursday, so she's staying all the way to Thursday.
That was kind of in a week ago, last weekend, but she had one final tomorrow. She's just been hanging out all weekend.
Well, it's Reagan, so the idea was to go over this weekend and help bring some stuff back. I'm not ready. Yeah, sure. Alright, I guess I'll come over on Thursday.
You look great, you look great.
You brought some sugar donuts home? So it's a little
Great.
It'll be interesting to see what the meteorologists have to say about these swims.
All the that they're trying to say.
The best I can, I'm doing my best, my impersonation. See how it goes. We sat down for quite a while.
Joe?
Oh, no.
We had, yeah, 28.
Oh, I had them sign a hat. Yeah, we're in the safety clean oil recycling garage. Just incognito as could be, but with a big group of guys. I was like,
Was he cool about it?
yeah, and it was like, I couldn't even.
Does he seem gigantic at first?
Yes. Yeah, it felt like I came up to his waist. Maybe it was.
Oh, thank you. Summer cut. And I talked to some
That's what we get.
yeah, that's
Dog, no, I don't do any of that. My last hour was passed away.
You know what?
Oh.
You know what I was going to
Hey. But we were this big. You guys went this big. All the way. Where'd you go? Where was it? Oh, oh, is that what was he like?
wire.
Oh, he was.
He was my brother's.
Oh, he was. And my nephew went to college with him, so. No. Troy Bruce. Oh, Nancy? Oh, my God. Switched purses if I didn't grab it. So, yeah, Carol.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh, like, We like.
No, I don't. Oh, he's getting on. Okay. I sent him a text.
That's, okay, so that's, I'm trying to get this all together. Carl, Carol, yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. I would like to call the May 7th DeSoto City Council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Patterson,
Here.
Sabo,
Here.
Lane,
Here.
McCracken,
Here.
Bradley. It looks like Councilmember Bradley is absent.
I think he may be joining us
Yeah.
Soon, yeah. I just
soon. He said he's trying to connect, so he's joining remotely. I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm gonna let him in. Give me 1 second. Zach, can you hear us and just give us a quick mic check? Okay. Yes, I'm gonna turn you up just a little bit. Give us maybe another mic check for me.
Is that better?
A little bit, still pretty faint. I'm gonna turn you up all the way. Okay, one more time. We can hear you. You're still a little faint, but I think that's about as high as I can get you on my end.
Give me a few minutes and I'll switch over to my laptop while we're doing it, and then I can do it with your headset and it'll be easier on you.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty faint. I'm gonna try to turn him up.
All right.
Yeah, I'm all the way.
We don't have any other
No,
options for additional volume on that?
no, he's all the way up.
Okay. All right. First item tonight on the agenda is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approved the minutes from the April 15th City Council meeting, approved pay ordinance number 1018, approve a donation request from the DeSoto Food Pantry. Item D, approve notification of the city administrator's appointment of city clerk. And item E, approve supplemental agreement number 1 with PEC for the construction inspection of the Waverly Water Tower. Is there any item anyone would wish to remove for further discussion? Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McCracken,
Here.
Lane,
Yes.
Sabo,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 2 is called to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted upon by the council during this meeting. There's a 4-minute time limit. Please stand and wait to be recognized. When you come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
When did it go from 5 to 4 minutes? Okay. Marie Caldwell, 8412 Corliss Road. So trust means a firm belief in someone's reliability, integrity, and honesty. But what we are experiencing with Beal does not reflect that trust. It reflects a pattern of behavior that raises serious concerns. Beal has a documented history of being unreliable and inconsistent, yet we allowed them to enter into a development agreement, and now they want to change it. They are proposing a facility larger than what was originally presented, and this is a breach of understanding that they created with this community, and not to mention the developmental agreement. Meanwhile, smaller developers are required to return again and again over something as simple as a sidewalk. Yet Beal was allowed to move forward on a promise that their proper regulations would be added later, as well as not adhering to the size of the first data center. This is not consistency. This is not fairness, and it's certainly not accountability. We have seen the impacts of Evergy's involvement, tearing up land, installing massive power poles in front yards, and now preparing to build a substation or maybe two to support this project. If the poles already installed are any indication, the future infrastructure will be even more intrusive. Remember, this center is not being built on sunflower-contaminated land, but farmland that was somehow acquired with the help of the city and the Chamber for Flint Development. Even Eudora, as of the last Planning Commission, is developing new data center regulations. We are not being good neighbors. At the Planning Commission meeting, Roger Templin openly stated he did not trust Beal to adhere to the regulations that they did not have in their plan. And yet the project still passed our Planning Commission. When the people responsible for oversight express distrust, but others approve the project anyway, something is fundamentally broken. This train wreck needs to stop. I am calling for a moratorium on data centers, a pause that allows us to evaluate the cumulative effects, the environmental and infrastructure costs, the fairness of our development processes, and the long consequences for our community. We deserve transparency. We deserve consistency. We deserve developmental partners who will honor their commitments and not try to buy us off after the fact. And above all, we deserve a city government that protects its residents, not one that bends for the biggest player in the room. I am asking you to take a careful, transparent, and proactive approach before approaching any further aspect of this project. While I know we are doing a few things specifically, I request clear, enforceable answers and legally binding conditions that the public can easily access. And I have a list, and because I don't have 5 minutes, I only have 4 minutes, I am going to pass them off, but I will tell you what the general areas are. Protection of residential utility rates, infrastructure responsibility, water usage and sustainability, air quality and backup power systems, setbacks, noise, and community impact, tax incentives and long-term community benefit, and lastly, transparency and accountability. And I will say a few things. All commitments should be written in binding development agreements, no changes. Maybe bring in a lawyer that specifically deals with data centers. Agreements should be reworked if broken and redone, publicly accessible, enforceable with consequences for non-compliance, no NDAs. While NDAs might not be inherently illegal depending on the scope, doing so conceals information from the public and are considered unethical. This is not a request to reject development outright, although a more trusted developer would be nice. It is a request to ensure that any development is responsible, sustainable, and does not shift long-term costs or risks onto our community and other surrounding communities. And also to allow for community input, which we never had in the first place. So I have these these things listed, and then I will hand those off to each one of you so you can read those.
Hello, I am Sarah Vandy Creek, 8175 Ravenswood Lane. I think I'm taking a little different approach than Tony, but that's okay. We all have differences. The City of DeSoto and the City Council, we need to take a step back and we need to slow down. I'm not against progress, and unlike probably my counterparts, I can't say I'm fully against data centers or even industrial uses that at first might seem unreasonable. I want something that's reasonable. We want what is reasonable? The previous city councils and our current mayor have made decisions for our city that this council is having to handle. Foremost on many of our minds tonight are the plans for more than one data center. I've heard of at least 2 different companies. I have spent hours, days, weeks, so much time trying to get to the real cost to our community and whether the cost is worth it. Questions many have asked include water. From where? Where is the disposal? How often does it need to be refreshed? As was mentioned in the recent Planning Commission meeting, is it 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks? At what cost? Electricity, how much? What is the load? Will my rates go up? Will Evergy changes bring more destruction to our landscape? How much is Evergy really willing to fix the damage that they have caused or make changes to the future? And at what cost? Our health. Will the constant sound cause problems? It has been compared to no more than that of K10, but even K10 has lulls in sound production. It's never constant. How will this affect our students? How will this affect our people? How will this affect our environment, our wildlife? What is the cost? I would ask that this city council, are you prepared to move forward with projects that have so many potential hazards? Have you done your due diligence on what you are getting yourself and our city and our citizens into? Are you prepared to face the consequences of anything that causes damage to the people, the land, and the environment of this city? I ask that the city slow down and make sure we have the ordinances and other protections in place to protect our community. Take a pause. Make sure we get it right. Many have mentioned a 2-year moratorium to me. I know there are other things that can be done, but our city has had issues to face before, and often our citizens are met with, well, you elected us for a reason. We really don't have to ask you if we can do it. That's been told to me by former city council members. I don't have to ask you because you elected me to make the decisions for you. That's not how this works. I live here. My kids are here. My family is here. I work here. This is my community. If other communities and data centers and other industries all over the internet and social media and in journals and on university campuses are sharing struggles that they have faced, shouldn't we heed their caution? Thank you.
Okay. Laura Holloway, Dally to some people, 8530 Hilltop Road. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to write when I sat down. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to finish. We are facing an unprecedented time of growth in our community. What I decided on is just to provide some scientific facts about data centers and how they affect communities around them. They aren't new. I think we all know and understand that. They've been around for a very long time at this point. However, what is new is the increased demand that these structures and the strains that they put on citizens nationwide. Thanks to the rise in data center power requirements alone, utility rates for residents increased by 31% in the United States between 2020 and 2025. That's a comparison of 4% from 2015 to 2020. The idea that data centers will bring their own power is also, unfortunately, a corporate myth. While proponents claim that self-powering means self-paying, that's often not the case, as studies show. In New York and Georgia, new demand and energy consumption increased residential costs even when data centers were not pulling from the grid. A nonprofit called Powerlines notes that U.S. gas and electric companies requested $31 billion in rates increase last year in 2025. That's double what they asked for in 2024. Is our city ready to handle that? I'm not sure. Are our residents ready for that? I don't think so. Water is an ever-growing concern that we are facing. Drought notices across the country, the state. We were just put on notice here in Johnson County. The amount of water that data centers required tripled between 2014 and 2023. Estimates suggest that by 2028, AI data centers alone may consume as much as 720 billion gallons of water. That's 18.5 million American US households. I know we talk about the closed loop technology a lot here. It's been a big push here in our area. But unfortunately, closed loop does not mean that there is no water consumption. All it means is that the water is put back into our systems. This ensures nothing about the safety of the previously withdrawn water when it re-enters our systems. The closed loop systems can suffer from bacterial growth, meaning that the equipment will actually corrode faster. That requires more chemicals to maintain the costs and the equipment. These chemicals will be released into the wastewater of our city eventually at some point when the systems are flushed. That causes more water usage in the end. So a closed loop system is not necessarily a good solution. Health effects are another documented issue that have not been addressed. There are noise and cooling systems that are used often in data centers. Backup generators used by centers issue harmful pollutants such as nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide, and particulate matter. These contribute heavily to the smog levels and exacerbate childhood asthma and elderly cognitive decline. And environmental and health concerns are not enough. The financial implications of not one but multiple potential facilities like we're hearing about is very precarious. The AI-led stock market, which is largely responsible for this data center growth, we can all admit, has not materialized any actual profits, none. Trusting corporations that engage in financial behavior like circular investing helped fuel both the dot-com era and the 2008 financial crash. This data center trend is no different, even when you use facility exemptions on sales or use tax like we've talked about here. Virginia lost $1.6 billion in tax revenue from these data centers alone. But what does that mean for us, DeSoto? What does that mean for our neighbors and the community? Well, a single hyperscale center takes 100,000 households worth of energy. Water needs unpredictable. Closed loop systems come with a host of their own problems. The location for data centers is near our schools, homes, and other spaces. In the end, I really just want to ask, is this project worth our city's long-term health, our resource availability, and our potential tax revenue? Thank you for your time very much.
Hello. My name's Brittany Smith, 8725 Kill Creek Road. Our two properties are up for vote on eminent domain for the city sewer project being conducted by Grata. I've already discussed at length with many of you on this council our concerns with the proposed sewer route. However, I felt this was one of our last opportunities to appeal to the council regarding this matter. As you will see from the maps of the sewer route, our two properties are a very large portion of the land needed to complete the proposed sewer main. Over the last 2 months, we have been attempting to negotiate with Grata regarding this route. The process has been slow, generally pretty frustrating, as the only options that appear on the table are agreement to the original route or agreement to slight variations but wholly similar routes. All of these routes would destroy a large majority of natural landscape that we have on our property, destroy old trees in the area, and would bisect our property in half and have unknown impacts to the creek that it will be built along. In the legal statement of mutual assistance that we received, the city agreed to assist Grata up to eminent domain. So far, we have not seen any assistance included in that up to portion of the agreement. All of our alternative routes to navigate around our property or proposal that the city and Grata use a lift station to provide the service that they want have been denied or not even explored due to costs. All conversations have circled back to that we either agree to the route or that Grata will use the city to take the property needed from us. Grata has increased their compensation offered for the proposed route to us. However, this offer is still vastly below what it would cost us to even build a sewer line to connect the proposed main line to our home on just one of our two properties, highlighting the fact that this proposed utility service that we keep hearing is bettering the community or providing service to the residents won't even be able to service the users whose backyard it will be built into. We feel that if the city agrees to move forward with the eminent domain process, it will eliminate any negotiating power that we may have. And we also feel that in moving forward with this process, the city is showing the residents that they are choosing the potential of making a profit to outweigh the concerns of their residents, that they do not care about their constituents who have owned property for 40+ years in DeSoto, and that they would rather support an outside corporation than their own landowners. I would encourage you all to think if that is the message that you want to send your residents, and if not, to instead seek alternatives in this situation before choosing to move forward with eminent domain. Thank you for your time.
I'm Emily Lednicki. I own Village Vibes Massage in Town, address 33065 West 83rd Street. A data center could potentially cause me to move my business out of town. I do massage, it needs to be quiet. If there's a net negative with the noise, not just for me, but also for the nervous system of my clients, again, it would force me to leave if it's loud enough. Also, just the water concerns for everybody, the children, the future, and just literally being run out of town by the data center. I do want to mention, I just don't think any water is worth the risk, even if it's a small percentage. I did look up the other night where there's around 6 states that aren't allowing data centers to be built in them, and one of those places includes Washington, D.C. So I just want to think about why here and not there. So thank you for your time.
Rob Daniels, 30875 West 87th Street, DeSoto, Kansas. I'm not up here, there's been a lot of comments about data center, and I'm not up here to speak about data center good, data center bad. But I do want to address a couple of things, because as somebody that was on council, sat in meetings with Beal, the development agreement was based upon what was presented to us as a project coming forward. And what we're seeing are material changes, drastic material changes, both in size, scope, the utilities, whether it be water or electricity that are being used, that the development agreement was based upon. And with material changes of that nature, that scope, and that size, what I'm seeing and what is coming forward now is basically a different project than what had been proposed in the meetings that I was in, that made me come forward and actually make the motion to approve the Beal Data Center development agreement and the industrial revenue bonds for it. So as the change happens, it's one of those changes that size of material change also means that the development agreement should be revisited, because it's not the same project that it was when we looked at it the first time.
– Hello, I'm Cheryl Ragland. Been in DeSoto about 30 years, so I'm pretty, this is home for me, so I'm pretty invested in our community. So last week I attended the Planning Committee meeting, which was insightful. What I would request from that meeting, and again, I want to thank all the Planning Committee people, because I know that they were working hard on looking stuff quickly. I think they got the packet a couple of days before the meeting. So my request would be, I know that we're having a substation added down, I don't know what road it is, I'm sorry. I could drive you there.
Evening Star.
Where?
Evening Star.
Evening Star Road. That there's going to be an addition of a substation, and during the meeting, the planning meeting, there was some discussion about how can we make it look a little bit better for people coming in from that part of the town, the west side of town, so that they don't see this huge, massive, and maybe an engineer would think that's really beautiful, but I don't think it's that attractive when you come to the city of DeSoto. And I think for the city of DeSoto, for a long time, we have struggled with this, we're on the other side of the tracks when it comes to the city of Shawnee and the other part of the school district. And I think we've gone a long way with overcoming that, but I also don't want to feel again that we're on the other side of the tracks and we've got this somewhat ugly building, or ugly structure as we come in from the west. And I know there's some discussion about putting shrubs I'm not sure how much shrubs we're really gonna cover with the size of the structure. So there's gotta be something that can be done to make it a lot more appealing. I know there's a talk about a water fountain or something, but again, a water fountain's here and the structure is, what, how big is it? I don't really know. How tall are they normally? Do I have any Evergy people here? Pretty tall. So again, I'm just gonna ask that we look at that, we think about our community, we think about how we enter into the town, what it looks like for people coming from the west. I would appreciate you guys digging into that. And I think the other thing I'd like to just put out there, and I don't know, I come from a medical field, I have not done enough research, but I would look at some, whatever data we can find out there that talks about long-term effects from projects like this. I mean, RFK has some stuff out there, but I don't know that he's the only person I would take my information from. So I would ask that we look at that long term. And I think we have a lot of caring people here in town. So thank you for being here. I know you take your time, your energy. I appreciate you. Thank you.
We do have 2 people online. Sally, I'm going to unmute you if you just let us know if you wanted to speak. Give you a couple seconds. Okay. Don't hear you. Okay. I'm going to disable your mic, Sally. And then Abby, I'm going to unmute you real fast, just in case you wanted to speak. Not seeing her wanting to speak, so I'm going to put her back on mute.
All right, anyone else under call to public? All right, we will move on in our agenda. Old business is item 3, and we do not have any, so we will go to item 4A, receive presentation and update from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is just our quarterly update from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office on law enforcement activities in DeSoto. We have Dan here who gives the quarterly report, so I'll turn it over to him.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me once again. As Brandon said, here to present the first quarter statistics for the Sheriff's Office. As requested, the first slide is just some definitions of the offenses, the type of calls that we utilize. That's a general slide that's been there the last couple times. Executive summary, dispatch calls decreased from 710 to 654 from the same period in 2025. Okay, that's just number of calls coming into the dispatch center was less. Self-initiated non-traffic calls decreased from 1,145 to 952 for the same period. These would be the type of calls that we do through our general patrolling, whether it be through the neighborhoods, doing business checks and things like that. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, go back down for just a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Self-initiated traffic increased from 1,451 to 1,556. I would like to say that is due in part to the number of deputies that we have produced from our training program and the district assigned officers, Deputy Miller and Deputy Heidi, who have very much activity here within the city. But with their combined efforts, you see an increase in those calls there, those type of stops. And that's also in addition to the district assigned officer for the DeSoto area. Traffic accidents increased from 4 to 6 for the same period in 2025. Not a significant increase, and here in a little bit I'll go to the individual accidents and the areas that those took place. We have a slide for that alone. And as I said in previous meetings, here in the third quarter of 2026, we began our e-ticketing system last year, so we can develop that baseline and compare from 2026 to 2025 here starting in the third quarter of this year. Right.
There we go.
All right, the first slide here is just the type of offenses that were there for this for 2026. And utilizing definitions there that were on the first slide, Group B offenses, we had 60 and 268 total offenses. There, the pie chart will show you the type of offenses that took place for that period. I can answer any questions as to that, if you have any.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
This slide right here is one I put together. I wanted to show you a comparison of all of those types of offenses compared from 2025. Through most of them, there's no significant increase or decrease in each of the categories. But of note, you will notice in driving under the influence, drugs and narcotics, and drug paraphernalia, there is an increase in those areas. And again, that's due to the activity level of the deputies that are operating within the district and within the city. And here you see the total number of dispatch calls were 654. And self-initiated non-traffic were 952, resulting in that 1,556 self-initiated traffic, and that was the increase I talked about. That's the increased activity level of the deputies, and the dots there will show where each of those that activity took place. The next one there is what we call the heat map. It kind of gives you just an image, a concentration of where the offenses or the stops were taking place within the city. All right. As I said, this is a total number of accidents for the first quarter of this year. And on the next slide right there, we'll talk about where each of those took place. There we go. So in 2025, we had 4. We had 2 at West 83rd and Laramie, and we had 1 at 103rd Street and Evening Star, and then at JC and Osage. We had 2 additional here in 2026, and you see that areas there. Of note and concerns in the past have been, obviously, with the advent of more traffic and things like that within the area, especially up around the Panasonic facility. Actually, that is not where those accidents have been taking place. Much of that too is we had some rough time there in January and early February with the cold weather and the ice and things like that. So that often attributes to those increased number of accidents during this time of year. All right. And this here addresses our e-ticketing for the city. For this first quarter in 2026, a total of 274 tickets were written, amounting to 394 violations with 171 warnings given. And again, in the third quarter of this year, we'll be able to show that comparison from this year to 2025. All right. Any questions with that I can answer?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the update.
Oh, Zach, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Zach.
I didn't look at it, I have one question. On the map,
Let me pull that back up for you, Zach. Hold on.
sorry.
Let me get there. What, you're still pretty hard to hear, but I will try to make out what you're saying.
Is that better?
It's a little better, yeah. What slide did you want to look at, Zach?
The one with the map of the locations.
Tickets or?
For the offenses or?
Yeah, offenses, sorry. So there, over there at the,
This one?
intersection of 103rd and this, there seems to be a little bit of a blur there, sort of over by where the, Flint Commerce Center is. Could you tell us, if you know, what kind of calls those were over there? That's kind of difficult, but are those traffic collisions, or are they tickets, or criminal offenses, or do you know off the top of your head? I'm sorry.
I do not know I don't have that data readily in front of me. It's a combination of all the dispatch calls, the self-initiated calls by the deputies, and the self-initiated traffic stops that were made. So without that actually in front of me and be able to pull up the data for that particular call, I do not know. I'm sorry.
That's all right, that's all right.
But I will look that up. What was the specific intersection?
The Flint Commerce Center, is that what you were saying, Zach? Is that what I heard?
That's correct.
Okay.
I will look that up and get an answer for you. All right.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Item B, consider proposal with McEnany Construction for the 2026 sidewalk curb replacement program.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. The night before you is the bid for our sidewalk curb replacement program. You may not be aware, currently, it used to be we just had a sidewalk repair program. And in the 2025 budget, we doubled the amount of money to be able to add curbs to it, since we've got quite a bit of curb here within the city, as a lot of cities do, that use limestone that's failing. And so this year, we added curb to the program. We had 3 bidders, McEnany, Freeman Construction, and Johnson Concrete LLC. McEnany provided us the lowest, most responsive bid, in the amount of $159,990. We do have 2 areas, and one area in Timber Trails, 84th Court, that will be replacing the curbs, and then High Street, north of 83rd, we will be placing curb along that street. There is a link within the write-up that takes you to a map that shows you the location of the sidewalks and the locations of the curb work. So tonight, would ask for approval of McEnany Construction, amount of $159,990.80, and authorize the city administrator to execute the contract.
I would like to compliment you and Martin on the map. I found that to be very handy, useful, and informative to identify those locations quickly. And the pictures that were tagged to those really helped.
I'd like to make that motion.
I have a couple quick questions.
Oh, go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Danny.
I'm sorry.
As far as when the time frame, I think it was a 60-day completion timeline, how do the residents get notice on which areas are going to be at which times?
Yeah, the contractor will send out door hangers to let folks know when we will move in. Generally about a week in advance of that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because on the curb work, they'll want to make sure they give plenty of notice, because there'll be restrictions to getting in and out of your driveway as they replace curb. So you'll probably just have to park to one side of the street. We'll kind of try to do half at a time. But yeah, we'll make residents aware of when that construction would start.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
All right. I think we have a motion technically, right? So,
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Danny. Are we ready for a second?
Yes.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second, a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane?
Yes.
Sabo?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item C, consider agreement with IBTS for third-party plan review and inspection services for the Mount Sunflower project.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you this evening, Council, is an agreement between the City of DeSoto and IBTS, Institute for Building Technology and Safety. IBTS is the company that we have utilized since 2023 on the Panasonic project to assist our building department with plan review services as well as inspection services. They currently have one full-time inspector and a second inspector as needed that are at the Panasonic project every day in order to provide the level of service needed for a project of that magnitude. We do not currently have staff capabilities to provide the level of service that a project of that scale would need, just due to the amount of work, the amount of inspections, and the scale of the plan review. Numerous packages have been in the 3,000 plus sheet per package range, which takes a significant amount of resources to get reviewed for code compliance to ensure that the construction meets adopted building codes by the City of DeSoto. The Mount Sunflower Properties project would put a similar strain to the Panasonic project, a similar demand for plan review and inspection services. So we have been meeting with the developer as far as that third-party agreement goes. You'll notice on the last page of the agreement before the exhibits, there is a line for acknowledgement by Mount Sunflower Properties LLC to be financially responsible for these services. So they would cover the costs of those third-party inspection and plan review services 100%. working with Patrick, the staff recommendation, while these services would typically be subject to competitive bidding, the city purchase policy provides exceptions for special circumstances as we have here. Due to IBTS's existing relationship with the city, expertise in building code compliance and newly constructed data centers, and the funding mechanism coming from developer reimbursement, staff recommend entering into the agreement with IBTS for third-party plan review and inspection services. In 2023, we did solicit bids for this service. IBTS was significantly lower than other companies due to their status as a nonprofit organization. The rates they have provided have increased slightly since 2023 as inflation has increased the costs for most services at this point. However, after reviewing those rates in comparison to the other bids from 2023, they are still at or below the rates from other bidders in 2023. And so that's another reason that Patrick and I worked together and felt as if that exception is acceptable for this. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
All right. Questions for Cameron regarding this agreement?
Hi, Cameron, thank you.
Is that,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Zach. I'm really interrupting a lot.
Zach, why don't you go? Oh, never mind.
Sorry. So when I was reading through it, so with projects like Panasonic or Mount Sunflower and requiring that third-party inspection services, so have we as a staff evaluated having the need for additional in-house person to do that? Because I only see that growing for that third party.
Yeah, so currently, and we evaluated it when the Panasonic project came to town, and obviously there was concern that it would require more than one additional staff member. Currently on that project, our plan review is completed by a team of plan reviewers that has had as many as 9 people on any given plan review in order to get these plan reviews turned around in as quick as a week. To review 3,000 pages takes significant time. Our concern at that time was hiring enough people to be able to man a project like that with the level of service that we're getting through this third party. If the development did not continue after that project was over, then we would be in a position where we would have an abundance of staff and not be able to properly fund that personnel or have to lay people off. And so the level of service we get for these large projects, we've had really good luck with IBTS on the previous project, and we just felt like given the uncertainty of mega projects like this, we don't want to overstaff and then have to lay people off immediately after if further development were to not happen. So I hope that answers your question adequately.
Zach, did you have a question?
I did.
Okay.
So I just wanted to on the scope of work, last slide, page 7, the agenda attachment. It says the project is expected to consist of phase 1, 2 buildings totaling 1.6 million square feet, and phase 2, 2 buildings totaling 1.73 million square feet. Is that a total for both phases of 1.73 or a total of 2.89 million square feet?
I believe that is a total for just that phase. Those numbers were provided by Mount Sunflower Properties. We asked them for their proposed scope of this project, so that way we could encompass what it was being proposed as, to be conservative and have a maximum, with the understanding that if it were to scale back, we would rather be conservative and have our scope of work listed out clearly for the third party, to where it protects us if the third party, if the project, inversely, if the project were to be underestimated and they were to increase, the third party could potentially request a revision to this agreement. So this would allow the agreement to stand and not have to be revisited throughout the project, unless it was felt necessary by the city or IBTS that something wasn't correct or something wasn't fair.
Any other questions?
Rhonda, I thought of one other thing for your question. Currently in the 2026 budget, there is an additional position within the building department for a full-time plans examiner. We expect revenues to exceed our projections just due to the large-scale development. Once those revenues do materialize, we are budgeted this year to hire a full-time plans examiner within the building department. That position is really to help with the additional spin-off developments. I mean, we're building more homes in DeSoto. There are developers building more commercial businesses. Our permit numbers have vastly increased over the last 3 years since Panasonic. So we are growing, but we're trying to grow based on our day-to-day development versus reacting to the large-scale developments. So just for clarification, we do have an additional position in the budget this year, but that is not tied to this. So just wanted to make that clear for you. Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Ready for a motion?
I'll move to approve agenda item 4C and approve the city administrator to sign the agreement with IBTS with the Mount Sunflower Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion?
If you don't mind, the contract has the mayor signing.
Oh, sorry, I typed that incorrectly on the suggested motion.
Would you amend your motion?
Yes, so I move to amend the motion to have the mayor sign the agreement with IBTS. Thanks, Cameron.
Set you up for failure. Apologize.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, further discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Patterson,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Sabo,
Yes.
McCracken,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank
Item
you.
D, discuss 2027 CDBG project.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our annual application for a community development block grant. A couple good things of note is the amount available has been doubled from 100,000 annually to 200,000. So that's a significant increase. It's been 100,000 for at least the last 10, 12 years. So it's finally been increased and is now $200,000 on an annual basis. Also want to let you know a public hearing does need to be held by the city council, so that is scheduled for the 21st. So tonight we're just receiving some input, some ideas, some areas that maybe you'd like to see the money spent. We do have some staff recommendations, but ultimately it is the council's decision on what projects is selected or projects are requested. This is not selected to be, we turn in an application to Johnson County for consideration since they manage the program. One thing that also was a benefit is DeSoto used to have 3 census tracts, and now we have 7. And so I've highlighted the areas in yellow which are eligible for community development block grants, and they are the money is targeted to low and moderate income areas. And we've got 3 areas. One is west of Penn or north of K10, it's the Lakeview Heights area, which does include a fairly large portion of the downtown area. Then, of course, the Old Town DeSoto original platted area, and then west of Kill Creek, south of K10, which really is the Clearview City is the area that is generally targeted for this location. So just a quick recap of some of our previous grants. We had $108,000 to the Sunflower Trail, which was built recently and completed open. 2024 was weather sirens that we installed, and those are in, and all these funds have been approved and we've been reimbursed for this. It's a reimbursement plan, so we have to, get the engineering, get the project built, and then we can request reimbursement for this. And then currently under construction is the sidewalk along Lexington Avenue connecting 95th Street to Commerce Drive, and that's under construction now, and we were awarded $182,633. You may recall we did recently have a bid opening on that a couple months ago. So that is underway. So to move towards the 2027 project, staff's recommended a couple areas to be looked at. Will point out previous councils have been really focused on sidewalk development and improving those. So that's an area that focused on with this consideration as well. Certainly you're not bound by any of those things, but on page 2 of the staff report, you can see where we did a bunch of sidewalk replacement in orange for the city. That was city-only funds, not anything to do with the Community Development Block Grant. And then, of course, the areas that I have highlighted in yellow are sidewalks that need to be replaced ultimately, and do have pictures of those in your staff report. One area also that I would like for the council to consider is the Lakeview Heights area. There is some serious concerns with our water lines over there. They're actually 6 inches is our standard size water line. A lot of those lines over there are 2 inch, and some of the hydrants aren't working, and that valve that are have shown on that drawing there. Spoke with Billy Briggs, our water superintendent, and he's actually afraid to turn that one or do anything with it because he doesn't know if he'll ever get it back open. So I really think this is an area that needs some strong consideration as well for this project. Now, one thing that's also good about the additional funds is you could split the project. We could consider 2 applications, both for $100,000 on sidewalks, $100,000 towards the water line, or they can be split up. If the council has a third area you'd like to see considered, we can divide it up in thirds. So that's why I'd like to have this discussion, or the council has this discussion, if there's some areas you'd like to see these funds applied for. But they do have to be in these 3 areas that I've highlighted in the staff report, as far as the Lakeview Heights area, the Old Town DeSoto, and potentially the areas around Clearview City.
A location that came to my mind, I don't know if we might be ready for that by then, would be a downtown project that we might combine with some other, like we could combine some of the CDBG funds with another project and do something downtown. If we're starting the planning process this year, by 2027, then we might be ready for some construction, and would that be possible?
Yeah, well, the application is June 12th of this year, so that's why I've got the public hearing at the next council meeting, so I don't know if we'd be able to make that. And I know we've talked about, or you brought this up, Mayor, before, about having some sort of joint project downtown. So I'll have to clarify with the Johnson County staff that runs this what we could potentially do, but it has to be infrastructure, sidewalks.
Yeah.
Things like that. I remember one year we did
target this, say, for sidewalks downtown, that
yeah, we
then
could certainly
would
do that.
combine with something like lights or whatever it might be with some other downtown improvements that, I guess my question was, I'm assuming that Main Street or that strip, sorry, Mike, that strip between Shawnee and Peoria would qualify along.
Certainly, yes, that's in one of the eligible
project.
districts.
Okay. Rhonda, you look like you had a comment or something to say.
So just for clarification, of course, I think the downtown part is big. If we can have that sooner than later, it'd be great. Since we're wanting to drive more activities and events down there, the sooner we can get that going, I think the better. But, so what's your definition of downtown? Like, what is from what street to what street? What's considered downtown?
Well, I mean, if you really, and I do have a map of the census tracts. Actually, the one downtown is kind of, well, they're all kind of strange shapes, but the core of it is basically, it actually stretches all the way to Gardner Road, north of Gardner Road, which includes the whole sand plant area, which nobody lives in. So it's really, I mean, Old Town DeSoto, what I refer to as the original platted area, basically.
So more than just 2 blocks?
Yes, yeah, it's all the surrounding neighborhoods or homes, basically from Wyandotte to along 83rd out to Penner Avenue in that area.
Thank you.
Brad, can you talk a little bit about Where is our next closest working hydrant? Near 83rd and Center. So you have that marked on the map that is the non-working hydrant?
Right, yeah, and I guess I did it's along 83rd Street. We do have a 6-inch water main along 83rd, and it is probably closer when Penner swings around and you've kind of got that you turn right on 83rd Street. It's maybe a block from there, so it's a fair distance.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in seeing cost impacts on improving the 2-inch water line. I think the community deserves working fire hydrants.
Yeah, we can get some of those numbers for you, but this is really, at this point, just a spur discussion on.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, but yeah, I'll get that location of that nearest hydrant. I know I can see it when I know where it is. I can point to it, but I don't know the exact address of the home.
Any other areas or ideas you want to throw at Brad to have him bring back for the public hearing?
This is Brad.
Yeah.
So, my concern, it's not a concern, I was wondering if this hydrant should be coordinated with the Sullivan Fire District to make sure that we're aligned. Our public works and their needs as the fire district are as aligned as possible.
Well, we have had discussions with the fire district before specifically about this area. Now, once again, it's been several years ago, so I'm kind of going off of memory. But we had a discussion about how a fire would be fought in that area, knowing that this hydrant is not serviceable. And I mean, they do carry water in the trucks. I don't know if Chief Maxon is still here. He was here earlier. But so our firefighting capability would be limited to what is actually transported in the truck itself. So they're full and they're ready to go right now. So if there was a huge blaze, they'd have to string hoses to the nearest hydrant. But they do carry several thousand gallons of water on each of their trucks. So hopefully it wouldn't be a big fire.
If you could please coordinate with the fire district to make sure that you're meeting their needs with their public works.
Well, we certainly can do that, but as you know, the hydrants are ours, and we've had some instances. I mean, there are other hydrants in town that are out of service, but this area also has some water line needs as well. So yes, well, I'll speak with Chief Maxon about other areas that he might have concerns about for water projects.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you need from us tonight?
No, that will do it, Mayor. And like I said, if you have any other ideas, we have that public hearing on the 21st. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Item E, consider resolution number 2095 regarding KDOT Transportation Alternative Grant.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, staff is requesting approval of Resolution 2095 to support the KDOT Transportation Alternative Grant application for shared use path on Sunflower Road from 87 to 91st Street. The project would be constructed as approximately half mile long and a 10-foot wide asphalt trail. This would be kind of the missing link between an existing trail on 87th Street that was part of the Merck expansion several years ago and a trail segment that was completed last year from 91st Street to 103rd Street. Right now, the pedestrians and cyclists are having to, as they come around the bend on 87th Street, having to get on the road to kind of connect from trail to trail. The project is already designed. When we designed the trail from 103rd Street up to 91st Street, we had the engineer go all the way up to 87th Street with the anticipation that this missing link would be completed. And so the grant application basically requires an 80-20 cost share with the city of DeSoto having the 20%. That 20% would be approximately $80,000 on a $400,000 trail. The project is included in the CIP and support the city goals for safer trail connection and walkability. And so staff recommends approval of Resolution 2095. I do have, if anyone would like to see it, kind of a map, so you kind of get a feel for it. I know it is kind of out there, but you can kind of see.
It was one of the topics of discussion at one of our Saturday morning meetings, this particular piece of trail was.
It wants to load. I don't know if it's gonna load. Well, it's a missing link. I'm having technology issues. I'll tell you that. Right now there's, I actually have a photo that the school district sent me where our current cross-country runners are running on the road as they're going from path to path. So it's definitely a missing link we're seeing.
Sure. Questions from council? Ready for a motion to approve the resolution.
I move we approve resolution number 2095 is presented to allow submission of the grant application.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bradley?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Sabo?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Item F, consider contract with Milburn Engineering for the 89th Street Culvert Replacement SMAC project.
Mayor and council members, thank you. So last year, we hired Milburn to do a preliminary engineering study to submit to the county through their Johnson County Stormwater Management Program for funding of this project. So that application was submitted, and we did receive funding. The funding from the county will pay 50% of the design, 50% of construction, and 50% of the construction inspection. The other 50% would be the cities to pay. We have a developer's agreement with the developer of Arbor Ridge that will cover that other half because they're going to have to improve the section of 89th Street too. So this project is located on 89th east of Kill Creek. And within the write-up, it kind of shows the total improvements to 89th Street from Kill Creek going east. And we have the kind of the middle section, about 1,100 feet of the roadway and culvert that will be part of this project. So once, assuming this is approved tonight, we'll send the application or the approved contract to Johnson County. They will in turn develop a interlocal agreement that will come back to the council for approval. That will state the cost of this project and that they'll fund 50% and the other 50% would be the city's responsibility, in this case through the developer for Arbor Ridge. So tonight, asking for approval of the contract with Milburn Engineering in the amount of $162,500 and authorize the city administrator to execute. And I'll stand for any questions.
All right. Any questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve engineering agreement between Milburn Engineering in the amount of $162,500 and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Sabo?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Item G, receive presentation on Phase 1 of the Community Center Master Plan.
Mayor and council, tonight our consultants are here to present you phase 1 findings from the Community Center Master Plan. This item is informational only. No formal action is requested. Phase 1 focuses on market data, prior survey review, community engagement efforts, and our continued and confirming what residents have continued to prioritize. I will turn it over to Jean and the rest of the team, and they will walk you through this process.
We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
All right. Hi, my name is Jean Stoverink. I'm an architect with Clark and Anderson, and you get two of us this evening.
That's right, you get double duty. And I'm Chris Kostelik with Studio CKA. I'm also a consultant to the Clark Anderson team. And as Brandon mentioned tonight, this is just an update of our first phase of the community center feasibility study. And the idea here is that we're going to share with you everything we've learned over the last few months before we embark on the second phase of the project and start showing some more concrete information. And so we'll go ahead and
jump into that. So tonight we're going to go through a little bit of market and demographic data. We're going to talk about the process that we've been through with the community, some of the engagement activities. We'll talk about some of the feedback that came out of that. And then we're going to talk a little about a survey that was conducted with the community and give you some feedback on that. And then I think our public meeting as well as our steering committee went through a little, we'll call it a build a center activity where we were given hypothetical money and expressed our priorities. So that's the agenda for this evening. I know we're getting a little late here, so we're going to move through this pretty quickly if we can. So this is just simply the service area that forms the foundation of our study. The red represents obviously the border of DeSoto, and the black is really an expanded secondary service area that expands to the entire school district boundaries. The idea behind this is this really sets the parameters for our analysis of demographic, market, and the things that will factor into the revenue analysis of this project. The other thing that really impacts use, market penetration, and revenue projections are other service providers in the area. And as you all know, several of the communities surrounding DeSoto have larger community recreation facilities. So that's something that will factor into our analysis and will factor into some of the feedback that we look to.
Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process. We met with a steering committee meeting throughout phase one, and in between each of the community engagement activities. Steering committee was made up of city staff, some city council members, park board members, school district, and community members. And the engagement activities, or community engagement, we held 3 pop-ups. One was at a youth basketball game, one was at a pickleball event, and one was at a high school basketball game. These were really to build awareness about the project, to introduce people to the project. We had a board up with the timeline of the project and just kind of introducing what the study was about. And then we asked people to fill out postcards, and they could fill them out there and leave them with us, or they could bring them back to City Hall and tell us what they would like to see in a community center. And then we held focus group discussions. These were more conversational, not just listing amenities, but talking about how these different special use groups in the community would see a community center being used. We met with the Arts Council, Student Advisory Committee to the Superintendent. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, faith groups, and the Parks Board. And then, as Chris mentioned, and we'll go into a little bit more, we conducted a survey and had over 400 responses, which was very good. And then the Hometown Hall, which was our public meeting, was open to anyone in the community to attend. Oh, and then this is just a look at the schedule. So we had something going on almost every week since January, and then the focus groups and survey were concentrated mostly in the month of March. We had our Hometown Hall just a couple weeks ago, and we have been meeting with the steering committee regularly throughout those to provide updates and feedback from them.
So the real purpose of this phase of development is to make sure we can understand everything there is to know about the community before we forge ahead recommending anything. And a lot of the amenities that came out of this discussion, or a lot of the priorities that came out of the discussion, really focused on the types of recreational amenities that may have been lacking within the community. Some of the questions that we asked people were, what are the types of things? As you can see, things like an indoor aquatic facility, larger gymnasiums, fitness space, other amenities that came out of the discussion. These are a couple of the examples of the postcards that we asked people to fill out in some of those activities. And as I just listed, some of the top amenities that kind of rose to the top, both within that outreach as well as within the survey, some place for some indoor year-round walking to get out of the cold and wind, something centered around fitness. This was both fitness, open fitness as well as group exercise fitness, a huge support for additional gymnasium space, and then some level of aquatics. And I think that's a big talking point as we move forward, is what type of aquatics would be most desirable. I think we also really want to understand the qualitative themes. Not everyone in this community will participate in a facility like this, but we want to make sure that we understand how it supports the community as a whole. And so some of the themes that came out of these discussions We're also around the idea of a community hub, a place where people could gather, something that strengthens partnerships, strengthens our unique identity as a community, and really preserves the feel that people have come to expect from DeSoto. Make sure it's multi-generational, that it serves all age groups, that it's not just not sport and recreation facilities, but also other enrichment and community programs. And also make sure that it's a complement to the existing facility. We asked a lot of questions of people. Well, if you did see a new facility, how would it relate to the existing? Would it complement that? Would it supersede that? And so that was a big piece, and making sure that as we move forward, that everything we present is sort of a responsible stewardship of public dollars, that we look to amenities that provide the broadest appeal and have the broadest utilization, so that we can make sure that funding is most appropriately utilized. So the survey. This was administered through several different methods, through social media, through city newsletter, as well as through utility bills. We did make paper copies available for those who didn't take that online. There's some examples of some of the questions. A lot of the questions focused on priorities and preferences, and we even started asking a question or two around willingness to potentially pay for a tax measure. As Jean mentioned, 400 respondents, a little over 400 respondents. It's not really critical that the demographics of those respondents are known, but it was good to know that the majority of the respondents, both DeSoto residents as well as school district residents, were residents of the primary and secondary service area, up to 97% within that secondary service area. I think this is another key finding, that about 57% don't use a facility, and then 65% probably would. This is really the type of data that supports community recreation facilities, the type of people that don't see themselves using a retail facility or a private facility, but would if it were available, affordable, and accessible. So this is the kind of data we like to really see come in. And as you can see, a couple of the more targeted questions around aquatics, what type of aquatics, and as you can see, the most prevalent was something around a leisure or recreational pool, closely followed second by some type of lap or competitive pool, and then a couple of other specific amenities that would play into that. And then about 16% of the population, or 16% of the respondents, said, aquatics, indoor aquatics is not a high priority for them. And then we also looked at youth facilities, specifically gymnasium space, as you can see, was a very, very high response level. And then following behind that, things like drop-in child watch, some type of youth or activity space. And then obviously, again, if it was not a focus, about 9% of the respondents felt that wasn't a high priority for them. And I know pie charts can blur the eyes occasionally, but I'll go through. The one on the left related to property tax was specifically around some level of willingness to pay. And if you do the math quickly in your head, you recognize that about 50% of the respondents totaled said they would support something between $10 and $30 a month at a taxation level. And I wouldn't focus so heavily on the property tax question as much as the willingness to pay some level of taxation. And again, about 30% of the population said this isn't just something that they just wouldn't support. Then you look at tax type, and again, property tax falls pretty low on that scale. What this really says to me, given the preliminary nature, is we don't focus too heavily, other than to say we really owe it to the community in the second phase of this to really dive into the program, the numbers, the costs, and really start refining some of these numbers. But recognizing that, again, if you look across the spectrum here, there is enough support to some tax willingness to pay that it's worth getting a little deeper dive into that. I also wanted to point out that one of the impetus of this study was really coming off the heels of the previous study that was done last year involving the YMCA. We really wanted to see some alignment, and we saw a lot of alignment. So we're not seeing a disparity of information coming in. Both are showing some level of support for those high priority activities: indoor walking, gymnasium, aquatics, and fitness. Both, again, show a pretty high propensity to support the facility and would show usage. Both really focus on cost as the primary factor for involvement in that. And then again, both show around 50% of that range would support some reasonable monthly additional tax. So again, we did conduct this Build-A-Center activity both within one of our community meetings as well as with our steering committee. People were given chips and a hypothetical dollar value and then a total budget that they had to stay within. And this allowed us to show a preference for the most important activities to the participants. But when you bring cost into the equation, that definitely made the challenge a little trickier. And so we can keep moving through these. And so in the hometown hall, we also went through a similar exercise. And then again, with our committee, we went through a similar exercise as well, and really kind of felt like we were seeing a lot of common themes. This isn't just survey data, someone reading in their living room a dry survey, but people that could really discuss why are these amenities important, why are we seeing this lacking of these particular activities. And when you got into a deeper discussion, it really gave us some insight into why these are high priority activities within the community. And when we did this with the committee, we started off realizing those pools are really expensive. So we started with one that had a pool and realized you don't get a whole heck of a lot else within a reasonable range of money. So then we started looking at one that really reduced the amount of aquatics and said, okay, how much does that give us to play with? And that gave us a little more meat on the bone. And then we decided it was only prudent to come up with a hybrid, which is always the perfect, I always joke, a camel is a horse that's designed by a committee, and if you take a committee and put them together, you get a good hybrid. And I think we did get a hybrid that really included some level of aquatics and some level of those high priority dry activities, and then thought about maybe a phase 2 potentially if there was something that would allow us to get a more robust indoor aquatic program. So I really thought this was a good exercise for the committee to go through to understand, and a couple of folks on council were part of that effort as well. Really understand the priorities and the challenges that we face in the next phase.
Okay, and then phase 2, we'll start programming, which is really starting to understand what are the spaces that are necessary, what size do those want to be, what are the adjacencies that need to happen, and then benchmarking tours. So we'll look at some existing facilities across the region. We'll conduct site analysis. Got another slide on that, the current preferred site. And then we'll start conceptual design. So this 3D rendering there, that is not this project, but that's just an example of the type of graphics that we'll start to generate when we get into phase 2. We get further along in phase 2. And then throughout all of that, we'll be doing cost estimating, which is estimating the upfront costs for construction and project costs, but then also looking at operational ranges. So that's looking at the cost of maintaining the building over the life of the building. We want to make sure that it's a sustainable model. And then just touching on site analysis, this is the preferred site at the moment that is across from just south of the high school to the west of El Patron Restaurant. So we'll be starting to look at stormwater, site access, topography on the site, size of the property versus the size of facility that we think is viable, and then existing infrastructure, any environmental restrictions. We'll get into preliminary studies of all of that in phase 2. And this is just a quick look of the schedule. We'll continue to meet with the steering committee throughout this phase 2, and then our target right now is to bring the study to a conclusion in October.
All right, any questions from council?
Couple of things. First of all, I appreciate this whole engagement process. I think not that it can be done maybe to this extent, but I hope some of our future developments that are coming to town take note of what you've done and the process and the involvement. And so thank you for that. I like the lazy river idea. That was not on my card. And also I know because it had been stressed about complementing the current community center, so I appreciated seeing that on there, that the community still feels strong about that. And then, of course, I know the primary concern is cost, and that's a big obstacle for all of us. Have there been any talks or conversations or how to go about maybe visiting with larger businesses or potential partnerships or sponsorships, like naming rights? This is the such and such community center that would then help offset the other costs?
That did come up, particularly in some of our focus group meetings with Chamber of Commerce. Some of the businesses, I think, even asked if that would be an option. They were eager to do that, to have their name on things. So yeah, that's been brought up from several different places within the community throughout our talks.
That's it, thank you.
I'll agree with Rhonda's sentiments and statements there. Brandon, you've been huge in this as well. Can you scroll back up to the postcards?
Oh yeah, the artwork on these are amazing.
So, I mean, I have an extensive handwriting investigative background. I would definitely say the bottom one there might be somebody close to my age. And I'd be in favor of a slide like that. But you guys have done a great job getting community involved, and I know we've had several people attend, and this is a great way to do this.
Yeah, I would just echo what Joe said. Jeannie, your team has been phenomenal. We keep seeing compliments and people stopping me when I'm walking down the street saying how great it is to work with you guys. So I really do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, it won't be so positive when we present costs. So we're going to hang on to that one and save it till October.
Unless you bring your sponsor.
That's right, you bring a sponsor.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you.
Great.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Moving on, item H, consider resolution number 2096, authorizing property acquisition process for sewer main installation.
Yes, Council. Just as a little background, the layout of the sewer involved 15 property owners that easements were needed from. 12 of those property owners have agreed to give those easements for compensation, so we're left with three property owners, and one of the owner representatives addressed you earlier. We've been at this for months and months, and I know the mayor and the city administrator were engaged with some of the property owners to try to find solutions on how the sewer could be moved. So there was quite a bit of activity by the city. I know I reached out to two of the property owners, but I think it does speak to the effort in that 12 have agreed, so we're just left with 3. And just so everybody knows, when eminent domain, if the property owner and the developer can't agree on a value, then the process is that the Johnson County District Court will appoint 3 appraisers to then meet, and they will come up with a value that they believe is reasonable for the easements needed. So, and that's just how the process works. When you don't reach agreement, then it's up to the 3 appraisers, and they will come up with a value, and the city will need to pay that to get these easements. So what you have in your packet materials is the first step. It's simply a resolution authorizing survey work to determine exactly what easements are needed. That will be followed up in a future meeting of an ordinance, and the ordinance will specifically set out what properties we're talking about. So stand for any questions.
I would like to share that I think we're down to 2 now. I think that late development, that one additional potential condemnation has been avoided.
Okay, good.
We're down just to the 2 properties near the north end of the project. So, and this step does not preclude further negotiations, that the developer can continue to work with the property owners to try and resolve this prior to conclusion of this process. So it's just the initiation of that first step.
And Travis Schramm, the developer, is in the audience if you have any questions for him.
Yeah. Questions? Joe?
I'll direct this to Travis. Travis, have we been able to make contact with all the parties that have not responded?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I know previously there was one that was, we were unable to contact or.
Yeah, it took us about 4 months and like 15 letters and phone calls and emails and on-site visits, and we finally got response from them. We have an offer out to them. They had a legal counsel contact us. I think they're doing their own appraisals. They have not responded to that. We've kind of checked in every couple of weeks, and they keep telling us they're going to respond, but don't actually respond. So they haven't said no either, but they haven't said yes. So does that help?
Perfect, understood, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Rhonda?
I was just saying, I do know that there has been a lot of effort to definitely reach out and to have some communication. So I'm just confirming for tonight, I guess, that there's gonna still be opportunity to reach that agreement and nothing, I mean, this is not like the final.
No.
You can negotiate right up until the award is made, so, yeah, none of this precludes those negotiations.
They're gonna get.
So more or less, this is just an authorization for more site review
That's right.
and has nothing to do with the actual eminent domain right now.
Well, it's part of the Eminent Domain Act, it's just the first step. And this particular resolution doesn't even mention what properties we're talking about. That will come at your next meeting in the form of an ordinance, and that will set forth the exact legal descriptions of the easements needed.
Okay.
And was it the Akings, was that the property owner that came off?
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
they're
can
in
speak to
agreement.
that. We expanded a couple of adjacent easements, and we're able to work around the Akings property. So we no longer need an easement from them. One of the challenges on this particular situation is it's sanitary sewers, as a lot of you guys know, is you gotta stay in the low spot, you gotta follow the draw. And so we can maneuver, but we can't go very far, right? We can try and avoid specific areas or trees or something like that, but it's really hard to go, too far one direction or another and stay in the low spot to make the sewers flow with gravity. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council?
This is Zach, I have a question.
Sure.
I did hear earlier, public comment, that there seemed to be a statement that the people whose properties were affected by this will not be able to use the sanitary sewer. I just wanted to clarify that was not the case.
I think the
I'll-
sewer is designed so that anybody that lives along it should be able to get to it by gravity.
Yeah, I was confused by that statement as well. So the sewer line would be below the structures that are currently there and on the low spot of their property. I think, I'm reading between the lines a little bit, but I think she was talking about the cost of connecting it to her house. We have offered to run a connection, so a service line off the main in the direction of her house and bring it relatively close, and allow her to make that connection. But we haven't made much progress in that discussion. So that being the case, she should be able to connect at the same price that anybody would connect. And if you recall, in the development agreement that we did, the city has agreed to waive the connection fee charge, so that would be of a cost savings to the average person that was connected to a sewer line that was on their property.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We ready for a motion?
Adopt the resolution as written.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 4H, to approve resolution 2096 as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
McCracken,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Sabo,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 5 is executive session. We do not have any, so we will move on to item 6, advisory reports. I'm going to go to Assistant City Administrator since City Administrator's not here. Brandon, are you ready?
Yeah, appreciate everyone letting me do my very poor impression of Mike tonight. And the only other thing I have, Mayor, is we have our final property tax relief open house on Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon in the Senior Center.
How is that process going? Have we gotten a lot of interest
Yeah,
this
we've
year?
gotten a lot of applications. Edgar's actually been collecting, I think we're somewhere in the 40s, is that what I remember?
Close to 40.
Yeah, close to 40, so, yeah, we estimate we're gonna see somewhere around 65, depending on the value.
Okay. Thank you. City Attorney.
Nothing for me.
All right.
Thank you.
City Planner.
Nothing tonight, Mayor,
All
thank
right.
you.
City Engineer.
Nothing tonight.
All right. You already had your turn, so we'll go on to council comments. Danny, anything for the group?
Nothing for me tonight, Mayor, thank you.
All right. Lindsay?
No, thank you.
Rhonda?
All right. First of all, it's great to see this crowd here. I know everyone coming together for kind of a common purpose. I would love to see that for other things as well. It just is great for folks to be here, to hear things firsthand. So personally, just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Brandon, I didn't get to thank you with the community center thing, but thank you for organizing that. I know that's been a lot of work and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And then I'm going to read from this because I had this typed up myself. But I just wanted to put out there, I agree definitely for all of us to somewhat slow down and take a breath because I know there is a lot of development. I'm sure that's coming. And some of it, you know, it's like somewhat out of control just based on locations. But I think definitely as our community continues to experience rapid growth and increased interest from large-scale industry projects such as data centers, and based on community feedback, and some tonight, I would like to begin the discussion regarding whether DeSoto should consider limiting or like a moratorium or temporarily pausing maybe additional data center development after, you know, the projects that have already been discussed are completed. I didn't even know, I'll be honest, moratorium, that's actually been new to me until about 3-4 weeks ago, so I'm still learning that, so I think bear with us. I'm just putting that out there, that this would allow the city and community adequate time to fully understand and evaluate long-term impacts and how they affect our residents, public services, utilities, and future growth, positive and negative. I'm not saying it's all definitely negative, but just moving forward for everyone. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't know necessarily how that works, and I'm sure I'm catching some people out, or catching them by surprise. I need more of that. Not like I don't have enough trying to come in here, but I want to try to understand that better and how that works, the good, the bad, the ugly, just to, again, make sure that we have somewhat an idea on what we want to prioritize coming in to the city. I mean, it's nice, I guess, to have a popular location and everyone wants to be here, so, you know, maybe we're at that point where we can help navigate what some of that might look like. You all are done with me for the night.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Joe? I was gonna let him go last unless you want.
All right.
Unless you'd rather go last.
Yeah, I'll try not to take up a lot of time, give it to Zach, but I do want to echo Rhonda and say thank you. It's nice to see full seats here. Tony, Sarah, Laura, I know Brittany left, but Emily, Rob, and Cheryl, thank you for getting up, speaking your mind, and being a part of your community. It's important. And yes, I would also wish, please keep attending. This is a way that helps spread factual information and doesn't add to the rumor mill and he said, she said on our ever so popular DeSoto social media sites. That's all for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Zach, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, so a couple of things. There's a lot of citizen concern about data centers in general. Some of it is currently found, this is the water usage. We know that some of these, at least the current plants, call not for evaporative cooling, for closed cooling, which doesn't use water. The fill is done with a distilled or double distilled deionized glycol water mixture that is disposed of by companies who specialize in that, and filled by companies who specialize in that, not necessarily produced as a concentrate and mixed on site, or it can be. Disposal is easy. Some of the other concerns are valid. So the noise complaint is absolutely valid. And one of the things that I found in doing some research after receiving these queries was that our current city code calls for decibel limits based on a dBA A-weighted measurement. Essentially, that measurement is used to determine the level of nuisance for the human ear, what we consider to sound like a nuisance. And that's great. I mean, we need to keep that, right? Because certainly we don't want people running their chainsaws at 2 a.m. That's probably not conducive to good neighborly action. But the point is, that is a very specific measurement for a very specific purpose. There's other types of specific measurements, such as a C-weighted, or more appropriately, probably a G-weighted decibel measurement. And while there may not be enough studies currently to, especially longitudinal or long-term studies, to justify absolute prohibition or hard and fast rules regarding infrasound, which is a lower frequency sound, or low frequency noise. But I think that taking into account our citizens' concerns and in the compelling governmental interest of protecting public health, I think it would be prudent for us to, at the very least, investigate how we could control that noise if we need a complementary noise ordinance for ILFN, infrasound low frequency noise, or if there's something else. Now, I know that many of our surrounding cities don't have that. But then again, many of our surrounding cities aren't putting in data centers. So I think it would be prudent, given both citizen concern and the potential for vibroacoustic disease caused by long-term exposure to pulsating low frequencies, that it's potential that could occur. We know that the developer has said that they meet all current city code requirements for decibel levels, and I don't doubt that. That's probably correct. But we don't know how much infrasound and low frequency noise they will produce. And given that there's very limited scientifically studied, scientific studies around this, I think it would be something that we need to look at sooner rather than later, so that we can make sure that we are, again, we've just approved a contract for monitoring compliance with city code and IBC and RBC or whatever we're doing with them for the various buildings. So I think it would be prudent for us to take a look at that at a future meeting, or perhaps staff can do that. Do some research on how that may be effective, what methods we can use. Obviously, our current code calls for a properly calibrated sound measuring device of general purpose, but this would be a specific measuring device, and they are a little pricey, a few $1,000s, I think, for something that can do a G-weighted measurement. But I think that's really small change in protecting our citizens' health. Or even if you say there's not studies that show for sure that this is a bad thing, prevention is always good, I think, especially given our citizens' concerns. So, apologize for taking up so much time. I want to thank everyone who was there. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I am currently deployed to Shreveport, Louisiana for a hurricane preparedness exercise. And so I wish I could be there in person. I hear it's a great turnout, so thank you all, everyone who came to the meeting and joined online and watched them. That's all I have there.
Thank you, Zach. I think we can certainly add a discussion of our noise ordinance to an upcoming agenda to start that down that path. I know that from my limited research into this, that there is very limited definitive evidence in this area right now. I did happen to visit the Loudoun County, Virginia code site to try and figure out what Data Center Central had, you know, the area that has probably the most dense population of data centers in the country. And their current ordinances don't address this low frequency sound yet. I think they are starting that process now, as I understand it. But it's an evolving study, but I think it's certainly appropriate that we would look at that if there's anything that if there's definitive guidance that would help us make a reasonable and enforceable ordinance that we could help provide additional public safety would be in our interest to do so. So on that, I'll end on that note, and so we'll make note to add that noise ordinance discussion to a future agenda. I just had two other things I wanted to hit on. We had the National Day of Prayer observation in the gymnasium today. It's pretty well attended. Happy to deliver a National Day of Prayer proclamation on behalf of the city and the mayor. And then the last thing I had was a belated, I had talked to some folks about crosswalks on Lexington, Joe, at Thorpe, and I think it's Sky Avenue. It's a crossing from basically DeMeadows area across to area to the north. There's so it's the next major crossing north of Ottawa Street on Lexington. So
how close am I here?
I would like to investigate. Keep scrolling to the
up to the left. I overshot it. Sorry.
No.
Yeah,
You go down more, further down.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. This mouse battery's
One
about
more.
to die.
Okay.
There we go.
Right there, Thorpe and Lake, not Sky, Thorpe and Lake. So recently, I've actually twice observed young person crossing the road right there. And I know we don't have sidewalks on Thorpe yet, but we can get that in a future plan perhaps. But at that crossing, we have people crossing the road there. So whether maybe we would add a sidewalk that would connect back to the next street and improve that crossing, but something to get in, certainly a signed crosswalk or something to help get folks safely across the street there. All right, and that's, I think, all I have, I guess, other than to thank folks for showing up tonight. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move we adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We made it. Comes at
Yeah, this one will be about, it'll be next week.
This mouse battery is terrible.
Is the stuff from last time.
Yeah, I've been telling Mike, I think it's time to upgrade it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys and ladies, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ladies.
Oh, yeah. This computer is it's the last stop, so this was someone's computer. It comes here. Thank you. See ya. Thank you for coming. Take care.
You wouldn't do it? I'm not sure I'd want to do it.
We'll have to get that. Yeah.
Oh, then I'm definitely not going to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I think it was I took it up all the way on our side, so I think it was his setup. Because he changed setup a little bit back then. I think it was on his.
No explanation needed.
I might try to catch him and say, hey, can you log on and do
Yes.
So
She's a
keys to the building, default gets you into all this. There's a little black little box.
Definitely not science.
Yes, yes. We can do
We still will use it looks like Lori's got it.
I'm not realizing I will.
I will. Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, well, hit me up. Yeah. We can make it happen. Oh, yeah, I like it when I'm not needed. I get it. That's good that he wants to give it the purple.
Hi.